Hey everyone, me Kevin here. I have some good news. The pressure is boiling over in Congress, and Nancy Pelosi and Democratic leaders have confirmed they are working on a new stimulus proposal. Here's what we know. Oh, and quick note, because some of you have been asking, if you join any of the courses below, you know the coupon code, you've heard them before, you do get to meet me in the private live streams every morning, and I answer all of your questions. We talk stocks, we talk top trades or things that I'm doing, we talk real estate, and I analyze your deals for you, and of course, I answer your questions. All right, let's get right into the topic. So, this new stimulus package is expected to be smaller than the HEROES Act. It'll be around $2.4 trillion. This is also coming from House leaders, not junior members. So this is more at high level than the Problem Solvers Caucus proposal. Now, don't get me wrong. I liked the Problem Solvers Caucus proposal. In my estimation, with this being $900 billion larger, we're probably going to like this one better. We don't have all the details yet, but here's what we do know. First, this will include aid to restaurants and airlines. I mentioned those first because one of the reasons this package appears to be bigger is because it looks like they're purposefully adding in more money for airlines and restaurants, because both of these are struggling much more than they were when they were receiving the first PPP money in May and when we didn't think this pandemic would last as long. Stimulus checks. We're not sure how much yet. Small business aid, state and local government aid, rental assistance, unemployment funding, and election security funding. Now, we know those are the headlines that are going to be in this proposal. Those are now officially reported by Politico, and every other news outlet has now picked this up. Politico had the inside scoop with House leaders here. Now, even though we don't know the specifics, we can assume that this is going to look like a scaled down HEROES Act, which is okay because there's a lot in the HEROES Act where instead of providing funding for as long as the HEROES Act provides it for, you can kind of just shorten the time frame, and then boom, there you go. You've got yourself a pretty good proposal that could be around $2.4 trillion. This means we're probably going to see, because this is something Democrats have pushed for, and I wouldn't be surprised if they leave this in their proposal as maybe something they'll come down on when they negotiate with Republicans. We'll see. But it's very likely that their first volley will be $600 per week in unemployment, probably through the end of January. It's easy to say December 31st, but remember Congress leaves for, well, the holidays, and then the new Congress comes in January, so it's better to have deadlines end at the end of January. Although we do have the budget ending, the next budget extending, the next fiscal cliff comes December 11th. So we'll get to have a little Christmas debate too. Hopefully you'll still be following me. Anyway, stimulus checks, very likely my expectations that Democrats are going to put in there $1,200, and probably they'll go for the $1,200 for dependents, which is like what we saw in the HEROES Act, but that might get negotiated down again. Now, keep in mind, the Problem Solvers Caucus proposal was half Democrats, half Republicans. This is strictly coming from Democrats, so it's not necessarily going to be a bipartisan proposal, but we know that right now this next proposal needs to come from, we've talked about this for weeks, not the Senate. Forget about the Senate. The Senate can't do anything. The skinny bill was a joke and they couldn't even get that done. We know it's got to come from House leadership. It's coming from House leadership because the White House has decided we're not negotiating with McConnell, we're negotiating with Pelosi, because without Pelosi, no bill gets done. But if Pelosi's on board and the White House is on board, then Republicans can rally. So, rental assistance is also slated to be in this, and this is huge because we're over $21 billion behind in rent right now as a country. Probably more by now. I've been mentioning this number for about 3 weeks. I don't have an updated number yet. If you have an updated one, I'd love to hear it. But so far from my research, we're still technically at 21, though let's be real, this has probably grown by somewhere around 5 to 10% by now. So we could be around $22 to $23 billion behind. Airlines face an October 1st payroll deadline in which they're basically just going to lay off thousands of workers. With the exception of Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines has agreed to wait an additional 30 days. And I think they really want Congress to act. So, and I think the airlines are like, please get something done this month. But I think kind of behind the scenes they're like, don't worry, we're not going to lay you off yet. We're just going to tell Congress that. So hopefully they pass something. That's what I would do if I were an airline CEO. Anyway, Treasury Secretary, and again, that is what Delta is doing, so I'm not just purely speculating here. Delta has bluntly said they're going to wait 30 days. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, a top negotiator for Trump. This is very important to know, that Mnuchin is a top negotiator for Trump, right there with Meadows, has said every single day this week that he's been testifying in front of Congress that we need additional stimulus relief, and he says we need, quote, comprehensive relief. It's gotten so bad that Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has now specifically started giving suggestions as to where he would spend money as a high priority: businesses and unemployment. He hasn't mentioned stimulus checks yet, but Jerome Powell's also not making any of these decisions, but his voice is very influential, and generally he doesn't comment on Congress. So the fact that he even commented on those two things is a sign that we need some stimulus here. Powell also said that without more stimulus, people may start pulling back on spending. I mean, this should be kind of a duh. But then he said, as money runs out, we're probably going to see the growth start slowing substantially, and he said, we'll see that slowing, quote, sooner or later, probably sooner, that the economy has a harder time sustaining the growth we've previously had. All right, he even mentioned that if people stop spending money and stop receiving stimulus money, there's also a greater chance that some people will be forced into foreclosure, despite the mortgage forbearance plans that exist. Jobless claims numbers came in higher than expected for this week. Also, this new proposal is likely going to be a drafted proposal that will get in some form of an outline or a press release before it actually becomes a bill. In fact, House leadership said today, quote, if necessary, we could formalize the request by voting on it on the House floor. In other words, they'll probably come out with a proposed outline, and they'll try to make a deal with Trump. If they can make a deal on this outline with Trump, Mnuchin, and Meadows, then it'll be probably, in my opinion, humble opinion, I think it'll be a slam dunk to roll Republicans. Why? Come on, everybody's looking at the election. And I mean, we have to be real here. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. If right before an election, you could say you voted on a big fat stimulus package, I think there's probably a good chance that we get the House on board, Trump on board, and Republicans on board. We'll see. But it's got to come from the Democratic leadership. It's not going to come from the Senate. If you hear any quotes on YouTube or the news from people going, well, this senator said this senator said that, forget about it. Throw away. It's worthless information. Their quotes do not matter. They have no power. Here's another one who doesn't have power. Kevin McCarthy, who heard about this proposal and said, Democrats are going backwards. What is this? Well, in fairness, Nancy Pelosi did go a little backwards here, right? Nancy Pelosi did say that she would go down to $2.2 trillion. However, it sounds like the extra $200 billion to go to $2.4 may be due to increased needs, such as trouble at airlines, restaurants, and small businesses. And in reverse fairness, Republicans did say that they were going to do a $1.3 trillion deal, and then they tried voting on a $500 billion deal. And so at this point, Republicans like Kevin McCarthy giving Nancy Pelosi more heat is nothing new. It's old news. It also looks like this proposal was actually already initially drafted in August. And then Democratic leaders kind of paused on that in late August, probably as the Republicans were doing their thing. And now Democratic leaders have directed their staff to finish writing the proposal. So notice the keyword there, proposal, not bill. Although there's a good chance this is probably code for, hey, yo, lobbyists, yo, get me a proposal and a beer. Because I think that's how Congress works. Anyway, Chairman Richard E. Neal, who is a leader, a Democratic leader, said, quote, I think we're heading towards a resurgence of the virus in the fall, and until we defeat the virus, you're not going to have a full economic recovery. He said this in support of more and larger stimulus and this proposal that they're working on now. And remember, folks, Donald Trump is up for signing a $2 trillion deal. That's good. If he's up to a $2.2 trillion deal, it's not much of a difference between 2 and 2.2, 2.4. I mean, we're talking about a few pennies here. And I guess when I say pennies, I'm really just minimizing hundreds of billions of dollars, but oh well. In the meantime, you could definitely make sure to get life insurance in as little as 5 minutes via the link down below, and you could get a free stock worth up to $1,600 with Webull, as long as you deposit $100. Also, M1 Finance's promotion is ending. Remember, you could go to the top stocks that I have linked down below, and if you go to one of those and you sign up for an account, you can get $20 totally for free. It's just a guaranteed $20 if you deposit $100 with M1 Finance. And get that coupon code, which expires on Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. Consider sharing the video, and folks, we'll see you next time.